New Gen Gamers.com.
We're gonna hop into a dungeon.
Let's see if we
Load
can...
up tree. I think that one's pretty far into it.
Okay. Which tree?
Yeah, either one. Okay, now here's the dungeon. It's first person. Once you step into a dungeon from the
Holy
overworld-
crap!
Yeah, this is pretty far into the game. It's first person, much like many of the PC RPGs of the 80s. So this series is really kind of a blend of everything. You know, you've got fantasy mixed with sci-fi, you've got first person mixed with, you know, third person, you've got Eastern and Western RPG elements meshed together. It does a lot of things.
It's pretty much like a really great mesh of all the RPG genres.
Yeah, so this is definitely one of the definitive Master System games, and that would establish Sega as a powerhouse in the home hardware business, enough to keep them going with the Genesis, which was, you know, an even bigger success. You know, and we've compared the Master System to the NES a lot, and comparatively it is a lot worse, but by itself it's not a bad system. It's just it wasn't the best system at the time.
It all came down to games, really.
It really did. They didn't have the third-party support, and Sega's games were never quite as good as Nintendo's. They were so
Just
close.
a step behind, you know?
And that's the way you feel with the system. You got the controller that's a little bit weaker. You've got the 8 directions on it, which is a
I
novelty.
do like the control pad feel.
Yeah, the directional pad is very novel with the 8 directions.
It's circular and it's more comfortable on your fingers. You
But-
don't get that Nintendo thumb.
But you didn't get the games to really take advantage of it.
Now, anyone that, you know, is playing this, I can definitely see why they love their Master System.
Yeah,
this
this is a
is something
system-
that took advantage of it.
Yeah, this is a system seller.
But other than a select few games, you didn't get a lot. Now,
You weren't buying it for great baseball.
a lot of games were released on it later on, after, like, it was dead here in America. It continued on over, like, in other countries, even until 2000 in Brazil. It had a decent following down there, and there were some games that continued to be released.
Officially licensed by Sega, and if you check out our friend Jason Gamino's Retro Relapse video of the X-Men game, it is a really great game. It was one of the Brazilian-made ones, officially licensed by Sega and Marvel, and it was a really well done one, had really great graphics, and it came out later in the Master System's life. And it had some decent stuff. And, you know, it continued selling around the world. It never took off in the US. And that's where the sales were, and that's where it needed to catch on.
Well-
and that's where Sega really stepped it up with the Genesis.
Sega's marketing during this era was atrocious, to be honest. I mean, they just could not market out of a paper bag in those days, and they sold the marketing rights to Tonka, who didn't know how to sell a video game system, was used to selling toy trucks, and really couldn't do anything with it. So it pretty much just sat on shelves as kind of like an unknown novelty.
And how about this, playing through Phantasy Star with your 3D glasses? I mean,
Oh, that would be
that would be a great
badass.
experience, you know, first person going through it. And one thing that we're looking at here as we go through these console wars is the difference between the 8-bit era to the previous, I don't know if you want to call it 4-bit, whatever era, the first
They were
big console war of the early 80s. They didn't have the titles with this depth, and so this became a factor during the 8-bit era. You know, a story became a factor in a game, graphics became a huge factor in a game, and that's really where you saw the battle between Nintendo and Sega go down.
Yeah, it was basically, you know, with just more powerful systems, and everything was just Andro Cop. Sorry, I got off track there, running into a robot.
So here, yeah, and that's what's so weird about this game. You were fighting blue dragons, now you're fighting an android cop. Like, what? What?
What happened there?
Yes. I don't know where... I guess that's why they use the PH in the fantasy, because it really doesn't know what the hell it is.
Yeah, pretty much.
But it's always
it's fun.
It's always been an interesting and great series. And, you know, they're still making Phantasy Star games, so...
Most of them seem to be going towards the online now.
Yeah, and they just released a new one for PS2.
Oh, really?
So they're still going with it.
Oh.
I don't think it's online, but another Phantasy Star game.
Well, that's awesome, though. Well, hopefully they continue the series as, you know, time goes on.
And that's another thing that this series innovated. It was a successful, to a degree, Morpig on a console, which very few have done that.
Dead end. Well, I guess that about wraps it up,
I
huh?
guess we hit a dead end with it.
Yeah. Well,
I think that says it.
This one pretty much says it all.
That's what the Master System hit.
Kind of hit a dead end.
It had potential. It had some cool stuff, but it just never got
going.
Where it needed to get to be the greatest thing it could ever be.
But Sega would come back.
The challenge will always be there.
Ah, you are so right. The challenge will always be there. And Sega met that challenge the next generation.
Sega would be back, and we will see that in the future.
And we will be back with the NES.
We will be back with the NES and also the TurboGrafx, because that was also a competitor.
Oh yeah,
this time. I mean, through time we will cover all these systems of each era. So this is our first entrant into the 8-bit era.
Yeah, the Console Wars of the Past Part 2.01.
Yes.
2.01. This would be the Sega Master System section. And as I'm going to keep saying through these, if you don't remember your history, you're doomed to repeat it.
Absolutely.
So look back on these systems and enjoy them for what they were. Fun game systems.
Yeah, if you've never played it, give it a chance. If you ever want to check out a cool, obscure console, and check out Ray's articles on newgengamers.com entitled "Console Wars of the Past." He goes into even more in-depth coverage of these systems, and they go along with this. And we also have podcasts on the subject, and it all ties together for a real feel of the era of each of these systems.
Our whole goal here is to give you the essence of each of these consoles and these time periods right into your... All you have to do is watch, read, take in all the information. You'll know everything you want to know about these. So
more than you want to know.
This is the Sega commercial that tells you when you buy any Sega system, you'll get the incredible 2-player Double Dragon absolutely free. This is the commercial for Sega games that tells you when you buy 3 games, you get Double Dragon free. But wait, this is also the commercial that tells you to tear down to your nearest store and tear off a Sega coupon that says, if you buy any Sega system or 3 of our specially selected games, you'll get Double Dragon free. Offer expires December 31st. Major fun and a free game from Sega. Get it? Got it. Good.
NewGenGamers.com